Here's Wilson explaining why he stayed with football and wanted to transfer.
I called my former coach and I said, "Hey, I want to come back to NC State." He says, "No, you just go focus on baseball. You're not gonna be able to make it in football."
Hold on, did I hear that right? Rewind that back.
Just go focus on baseball. You're not gonna be able to make it in football.
As Harry Carey'd say, "Holy cow!"
Wow. And I said, will you at least let me come back and compete? He says, "No." They said I was too small. So then I'm like, all right, well, listen, I want my transfer page. What do you mean? I said, I want to be able to transfer so I can go pursue my football career. I really had to make a decision. Am I going to continue to pursue this baseball thing right now in the midst of it all? I'm starting every night at second. Or am I going to go, play college football? And so I was like, I'm going to take the risk. If football doesn't work out, I can always come back to baseball. But you can't go the other way around.
Right.
Okay. All right. I'm not gonna get into that just yet. I'm gonna work it in though. Joe Ovies is here from the OG on 99.9 The Fan and the Russell Wilson Never Failed podcast.
How many times have we done this show, Adam?
Is Peter King here somewhere?
No, seriously. How many times, for your statewide audience, they might not know that you and I did nearly 20 years of radio together in some form or fashion. All
right.
How many times have we done this damn show? Explaining Russell Wilson.
So, all right, just explain where Russell might be retelling a different story.
He's telling the whole story wrong again. Anyway.
Yeah.
Joe Giglio, who was the beat writer for NC State, has been around the NC State program for a very, very long time when he was with the News and Observer, had a passion project.
Right.
That passion project was to tell the definitive story of Russell Wilson's time at NC State, how he got there, what happened with Tom O'Brien, blah, 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 blah. So summer 2020, we put out Never Failed, the Russell Wilson story.
Yep.
Okay? Or summer 2021, I should say. And we talked to, the only person we didn't talk to, the only two people we didn't talk to were Russell Wilson, because we didn't need to, because you and I had done countless interviews with Russell Wilson, including the day he announced his transfer to Wisconsin. Because people might not know this, where we do the show shares space with a studio that will satellite uplink with ESPN. So Russell's just chilling in the kitchen. And how'd that work out? You just rolled up to him and be like, "Hey, Russ, you want to talk?"
What? And he was, sure.
Sure, why not? He explained it all. You talked some baseball with him, whatever. All this stuff is on record. But it shows you how little Russell Wilson cares for the actual record itself when he can just spin his tail, and you got Peyton Manning helping tell him the story. You brought up Peter King.
Yeah.
Peter King, longtime SI writer. Now he's doing this thing with NBC, blah, 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 blah. You and I went to the NSMA Awards banquet in Catawba.
In a sweaty high school unair-conditioned gym.
Peter was very gracious with his time. He sat down with us, but the interview flipped. We were supposed to interview him. Instead, he goes, "Hey, tell me about this whole Russell Wilson, Tom O'Brien thing." Did we not lay it out to him in clear terms what happened?
We did, and if I'm not mistaken, it was like a month later where Peter told the Russell Wilson story entirely from Russell's point of view.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Giglio,
Russell has that way about him.
He does. So to Giglio's credit, he wanted to, use his contacts. We didn't talk to Russell Wilson. We didn't talk to Tom O'Brien because Tom doesn't want to discuss it anymore because he knows that he's never going to win that argument. He can't win
the argument.
So he's not going to play. So we did a very exhaustive podcast retelling of Russell Wilson's time there. I suggest that everybody go listen to it. And here's the galling part of this, okay? I just laid out instances to the audience where you and I have talked to people who should know better. There are players who know better. There have been countless attempts to get people to know better. And when we put out the podcast, a lot of people in the industry were like, "Wow, this is great." When he left Seattle, the Seattle Times columnist actually said, "Hey, Seattle Seahawks fans, go listen to this podcast because it'll actually put a lot of what happened here in Seattle in perspective on his way out." And we're like, oh. So if we all know that what Russell Wilson is saying is mythology, why do people continue to tell the mythology? I don't get it.
Because he is disarming in that way. We found this out year one of Russell in the NFL. They lose the playoff game in Atlanta. They're walking off the field, and Russell is already gushing about next year, and you could hear it was almost as though, to sports writers, and I'm going to put this right in your wheelhouse, Joe, it was almost as if he were singing Bruce Springsteen songs to sports writers.
In this case, it's Tom O'Brien.
Right in their veins of his footballiness. So automatically, they're hooked. They are in love with Russell's footballiness.
Yeah.
First of all, I appreciate that he didn't use a Southern accent to Peyton.
Progress.
Yeah.
Because he did that in the Wisconsin commencement speech.
He did that.
Son.
Tom O'Brien suddenly had a Southern accent.
Son.
So this Ohio guy with a Southern accent.
All right.
So he didn't use a Southern accent. And by the way, I know you played every day at second base, but you hit 217. So if Russell was hitting 325, he wouldn't have gone to play football. They would have elevated him a level or two levels, because the reason they drafted him in the 4th round, what I would tell people is that if you are drafted in the first 5 rounds of a Major League Baseball draft, then you are akin to a first-round pick in the NFL. And also, my understanding, and I also got this sort of confirmed, confirmed.
You gotta confirm.
Listening to to your podcast, was that it wasn't that Tom O'Brien said, and this was, I guess, from our interview, which I had forgotten, that he didn't think that Russell was an NFL player.
The NFL
That's what he
told
told him. And by the way, Russell wasn't drafted in the 1st round. He was drafted in the 3rd round.
And this is the problem that I have with Peyton. I know they're telling a story. Okay, I get it. It's Peyton's Places. It's not. It's empty calories at this point.
Yes.
Okay, but in the words of Harry Carey, holy cow! Well, we know how the story ended. He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But when he was at NC State, nobody was thinking that this guy was going to go on to appear in 2 Super Bowls. Okay.
No.
Nobody thought that.
Elliott Avent, to his credit,
He's the only one.
Elliott Avent thought he could be he said at NC State he was a better quarterback than Phillip Rivers.
Yes.
He said that to us sitting at a McDonald's.
Yes.
We did a show at a McDonald's. Joe.
Never forget. We've done radio shows everywhere.
We did it at a supermarket.
We did.
We're for sandwiches or something.
That's right.
It was silly. But Avent told us sitting at a McDonald's over the sausage McMuffin with cheese that he was a better quarterback at State than Russell Wilson than Phillip Rivers, and we both looked at him like, "You're crazy."
Yeah, we thought he was nuts.
Nope, he is.
And I'm glad you brought up Elliott Avent too, and I think
he and Mike Lennon were the stars of those podcasts.
Elliott, if again, the name of the podcast has Never Failed, and this kind of shows you that Russell Wilson will believe his own mythology at everybody's expense. And I guess, and to Russell's credit, and you and I both know this because we've talked to enough athletes who have achieved greatness. They have to put themselves in a mental space that you and I will never understand.
Right.
Okay. They have to, Michael Jordan created beefs with everybody. I mean, that was the whole joke of The Last Dance. Like, that's when I took it personal. Dude, you lost money to the security guy. That's how personal you took things. You have to get to a mental place.
Pitching quarters.
Right. You lost money to him, for heaven's sake. Regardless. So I'm not going to fault Russell Wilson for his mentality because obviously it's worked out for him. But the most insulting part has to be somebody like Elliott Avent, who basically discovered Russell Wilson, gave him the multiple opportunities to bring him to NC State, and when things were not working out in his positions, what did Elliott Avent do while he was at NC State? He put him everywhere.
He
let him pitch.
He let him pitch. Yeah.
So Avent, also with the relationship with his father, and we know how Russell Wilson feels about his father. There's a very specific episode in Never Failed where he talks about wheeling his father in, who was not in great shape, so that he could see Russell Wilson play football. That's a guy who did everything possible for Russell Wilson. And yet, Russell still will throw shade in his direction and about baseball, as though like nobody believed him in baseball. Dude, Elliott believed in you and did everything possible.
Played him at second, played him at center, let him pitch.
But that's Russell, man. It's and I think what's been interesting about this year, and I think the reason why you're seeing so many people come at him with the knives this season in Denver and former players is because when you're not winning the Super Bowls, when you get exposed, nobody's going to ride for you. That's a problem.
2 things that happened in Seattle. One, he was not very popular among his teammates.
No.
Right? And I don't know what the reason for that is. I mean, Russell can come off as a little bit phony, even though it's genuine.
Sure.
He is genuinely that way. I think Russell likes everybody to know that he's doing good things, and he does a lot. He's always making appearances at hospitals, and he's doing a lot of charitable work.
All great.
Right, yes. But he likes you to know that, and I think that there were players in his locker room that didn't like it. And when he gets to Denver, He has no history with anybody in that organization nor the fan base. So when it wasn't going well, it was very easy for them to go, what have you done here?
He's also the consolation prize in Denver. They hired Nathaniel Hackett thinking that they were going to get Aaron Rodgers. That's another thing that
was not a good, not
a great plan. No.
That was two clunkers.
Yeah, they hired a guy who's
they lost
clock
the showcase
management-
showdown.
He hired a guy who didn't quite understand how NFL clocks work to get Aaron Rodgers, and that didn't.
All right, here's the other thing: homework assignment for you, Joe Ovies.
Okay.
And you can give me show your work also. Tell me all of the players who left baseball for several years,
dude,
and then came back to baseball with no problem.
I don't understand what it is about football people who think football is the most difficult thing in the world. It's not in comparison to baseball.
It's
the
impossible.
idea that I could just come back to baseball. No, you can't. No, you can't. Baseball chews you up and spits you out, man.
No, you could be amazing, and then the next year you stink, and that's it. That's who you are. There's no recovery.
You can come back to football. Football can be part-time for you. Baseball is not a part-time job, man.
Chris Winkie didn't play football for how many years? 4 years?
For whatever it was.
Then came back, tried to play baseball, didn't. Came back, won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a silly narrative, and shame on Peyton Manning for just nodding along.
Well, I mean, it's his place. What can we do?
It is.